Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the absolute best of the best, my favorite pocket knives of 2022. This list is incredibly subjective. It doesn't matter who does it and how they do it, it just is, right? So I don't expect people to agree with me unanimously, right? You can have your own favorites. These are mine. My reasoning does go beyond the utilitarian potential of the object it's included, but design plays a gigantic role. And, you know, that's a lot of times it's going to be eye of the beholder. This was pretty difficult. It was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. There were some really, really great knives, and I kept trying to like narrow it down to 10. I just didn't do that. I did 11. So I have 11 knives to share with you guys. I'm going to go through each of them, talk about them, and then I'm going to narrow it down to my absolute top 5. And then I'm going to tell you, my number 1, the knife of the year for 2022. If these are available, I will link them right down below. Not all of them are available, and that was not a criteria, you know, for this video. It doesn't have to be available to be on the list, but I will link the ones that are available right down below. Custom knives, total custom knives are excluded from this list. So we are talking about anything from production through what most people define as mid-tech. There are going to be inexpensive knives on this list and very expensive knives on this list. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's start off with an inexpensive knife. The Sencut Crowley. Absolutely one of the very best budget knives of 2022. I love button locks, and I'm going to tell you, the least expensive knives on this list are all button locks. I think they are amazing. I love using this knife. I love the finish on it. I love the handle space. Pretty much everything except for the pocket clip, but that blade geometry is just wonderful. I think the Sencut edged out the Saxi just a little bit for me. The Saxi is a great knife. It's not on this list, but I like the Crowley just a little bit more. I think this is an awesome choice and very, very inexpensive for sure. Let's move on here to the second knife on the list, and that's going to be, oh boy, the CJRB Pyrite. This is the less expensive one in Era RPM 9. They do, of course, have the premium one. You can get this in G10 or steel. They might actually even do my card. I can't remember. But they're all very inexpensive. It's right around 50 bucks. This is just absolutely fantastic. And, I think I actually prefer it a little bit more than the Crowley, especially the steel one. I don't know why. I don't normally like steel as a handle material, but this just feels great. I think the only thing they could have done to improve this was, you know, make a captive pivot and add some texturing to the steel ones. The G10 ones have the peel ply texturing, and I love that, but I just really like the steel one. I wish it was textured, but man, the Pyrite is such an amazing budget knife. And then last on the list for budget knives, and this just barely makes it, the Civivi Chevalier. Definitely my favorite Civivi knife. I love the blade shape. I love, you know, it's got kind of a narrow frame. It's really easy to carry. This is definitely the most premium feeling of all the budget knives. It's also in 14C28N steel, which, and that, at least to my knowledge, I believe that is what they put on there. I just can't see it because it's so freaking tiny. Oh yeah, now I can see it, 14C28N. It's hard to keep all this information in my head. I love the ergonomic profile. I love the blade. I love the look of it. It's just awesome. They have a bunch of different styles. I think these come in right around 70 bucks, which just barely makes it a budget knife in my book, but yeah, absolutely wonderful. Moving on here to some more expensive stuff. I used to do like budget, mid-range, and high-end. These knives are just generally, they're not perfectly in order, but they're just generally going to get more expensive as we move along. Let's talk about the Grambo knives Russ. Man, I love this thing. People always freak out. They're like, it's $400. It's not $400. You did not change the you didn't change the currency on their website from Australian to USA. I think these things come in at like what are they, 280, 285. This is a wonderful, wonderful knife. The production version actually came in with a hollow grind. which is, oh man, that is nice. The ergonomics on this are just masterful. This is very reminiscent of many different makers, right? We have a very, you know, well-loved and classic blade shape over the years, something that's been used by many knife makers and manufacturers. And then we have a really straightforward profile that just works beautifully. So whenever people see this knife, they say, it reminds me a lot of the, and, you know, insert like hundreds of different, you know, makers and manufacturers. But it still manages to be its own thing. I specifically like the see-through hardware. That's just beautiful. And also, very few pieces in the construction. And my favorite element is the fact that this is not actually a traditional liner lock. This is actually a frame lock. You can see there the lock itself is part of the total frame, and then this piece right here is separate from the frame, and they've textured it. That's just beautiful. I love that. You don't have to worry about where your fingers are when you are deploying it. It just works perfectly, and I think some people can actually even, yeah, front flip it there. Really, really cool. This is just fantastic. Such a wonderful EDC knife. I hope he continues to make them, and I really hope he continues, or I'm sorry, I hope he decides to do textured front side scales. This thing is just marvelous. I love the Grambo Rust. Make sure you guys check out his website. Moving on here, let's talk about one that I don't have yet. I did order it. These are all mine, by the way. I did order it, and I'm waiting on it to come in. It's going to be a little bit, but I'll show you from the review that I did, and that's the Knoll Knives Voodoo. This is the second year in a row Knoll Knives has made this list. Yeah, the Voodoo definitely, I would say, is one of the most unique things on the list. It's one of the most original knives on the list. I love the ergonomic profile. I love the blade shape. I love that he's got, it's like a hollow swedge up there, and then you have a little Spanish tip sheep's poon clip modified cleaver spear. You know, I don't know. It's a really cool blade shape, and ergonomically, it's just beautiful. It's one of those things that he managed to create a masterful ergonomic profile, and he did not sacrifice the quality of the aesthetic in any way, shape, or form. And I understand that aesthetic, you know, is extremely subjective, but man, it looks so cool. And I literally cannot wait to see what he does next. I think the Knoll Voodoo is just an absolutely masterful product. Very, very cool. Moving on here, one that I could not leave this off the list. This is absolutely one of the coolest things. That's going to be the WE and Snex Vision R with the Super Lock, which is fully ambidextrous and insanely strong. This thing is awesome. This is such an easy knife to carry and manipulate, and that blade shape. This blade profile might be one of the very best EDC blade profiles in existence. This is like a do-it-all kind of knife. It really is incredible, and it is one of the most interesting things that WE Knives has ever dropped, ever, right? I mean, this was designed by Snex, obviously, yeah, this, like, in a sea of other boring and plain Jane WE Knives, this was absolutely the coolest thing that they dropped. I just love this knife, and I had to keep it. A lot of times I give this stuff away or sell the stuff that, you know, WE sends me. This one, no, absolutely not. I had to keep this in my collection. The pocket clip I didn't think I was going to like, but you know what? It works just fine. I really can't find a specific reason that I don't like the clip. It's just in an odd place instead of on the side, so the knife carries strange. I'm just not used to the pocket clip clipping around the side of the pocket and kind of hanging like this, right? But it works. This knife is completely and totally ambidextrous, and you know, I think they have a good price on it. It's one that I would be happy to pay if for some reason I had to get rid of this or I gave it away. I would turn around and buy it happily for what they're asking for it. I'm pretty sure it was like $280, something like that. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Moving on here, a knife that everybody, literally everybody, knew was going to make this list. The Winter Blade Co. Factory. You guys have actually not seen the unboxing video for this one yet. This is my new one that he sent me because I gave away the other two. This is absolutely a knife that deserves to be on the list and is, I would say, the most unique thing on the list. This is a magnetically operated knife. where there's some disc magnets in there. And it's actually, it's also what serves as the lock. You push down here, which is the guard. This thing swings out. There's a couple of different options you have for this piece here. You can also put a big, gigantic piece of tritium in there if you want. But it's held in place by a magnet right there. This way you don't push down on the blade. You push, overcome the magnet from one direction, and then as the magnet slides into place behind the tang, that magnetic force helps throw the blade. What you're hearing there, that ting, is on every single one of these. It is, oh my gosh, so satisfying. It is just absolutely the coolest thing. On top of that, the lock itself is insanely strong. Insanely strong. I love EDCing this. Just the look of it, it's so different. And manipulating that lock there is just an absolute joy, even if you're left-handed, right? This is so easy to manipulate. Either way, put a nice big opening slot right there so you can flick it out, or you can just, you know, can you do the like sort of whip thing? I think it's a little bit harder to do that. I think you still have to like push. If you hold down the lock and push the button, obviously it's not gonna lock out, but God, wonderful. I'm just talking and talking. Despite the fact that it is shaped like a big rectangle, it's actually really comfortable to hang on to, and the only downside is that if you are working around metal shavings, not so great with magnets, but most of us don't. Like the vast majority of us do not work around metal shavings, so you're probably gonna be okay. Really, really cool. Magnificent. I think the next pre-order is up, it's going to be up, and they're going to come mid-2023, something like that. Moving on here, another knife that I absolutely could not keep off this list, and that's going to be the Sharp by Design Riot made Production Mini Tempest. Now, this is the special Knife Nuts Podcast Edition version with the M398 long Tanto blade and the purple fat carbon. But the standard versions in M390 and various inlay materials were absolutely wonderful. This is one of the very best front flippers to ever exist. What's amazing to me is that Brian Nadeau managed to pack so much blade into such a compact knife. Full 3.5 inches of blade. It's I think this is quite a ways under 8 inches, which is amazing. I just absolutely love this. It's beautiful. It's very much Sharp by Design, has that beautiful aesthetic. Perfect. This is a great example of what Riot is capable of. Sometimes, depending on the designer, you get, you know, kind of a clunky design. It is absolutely amazing that Riot is capable of this level of overall fit and finish and quality machine work. This is just masterful. I love the pocket clip. I love all the heavy rounding and chamfering all over it. The blade profile is excellent. I just can't believe how compact this thing. It's amazing that you get 3.5 inches of blade in something that is so compact, and it just doesn't feel like a big knife until it's open. You open it and it's just like, wow, this thing is actually gigantic. How the heck was all that blade in there? It's insane. The ratios, the blade to handle ratio on this is just absolutely incredible. Moving on here. the knife that I am the most angry at for 2022, and that is the Reich Lamella. This is the one that cut my hand, and you guys can see, you're going to see in the future videos where I still have the Band-Aids. And no, it's not wizardry or magic or, you know, there's no malicious, dark, you know, intent or anything. It's literally, my videos are not uploaded in order. There's a lot of stuff that is pre-recorded and scheduled at different times. So stuff that I recorded during the week or so that I had the Band-Aids on, some of it is like a month out or like 3 weeks out, and it's just, that's just how it works. But you can see actually, this knife got me here, which they glued, and it got me straight down the finger. All the skin on my thumb died. On this thumb actually had stitches. How did that happen? I was trying to disassemble it. There's a little lever in here that you need to push forward, and then this part of the frame, which is sort of sheathed over the underside, comes off the back, which is really cool. I've never seen anything like that. I don't think that there is a safe way to disassemble this. That being said, the way that I was doing it was stupid, and it was more my fault than anything else. That aside, this is one of the most astonishing examples of quality machining that I have ever seen. I cannot... This made me go, oh, Reich is serious, huh? Oh, they're serious. I did not know. I did not know what Reich was capable of until they produced this. I thought it was an integral... Look at this. The level of precision here and the design work on this is one... I've never seen a knife where every single line flows absolutely perfectly. There's always at least one weird thing this knife doesn't. The entire knife is weird, and you don't have to like how it looks to appreciate what went into it. This is not something that a group of people slapped together in the afternoon, right? It's something that clearly took a long time to design, and the crazy thing is that it actually works really well and is very comfortable to hang on to. M390 blade, titanium scales, obviously, and then we have a titanium nested liner lock, which is, oh my gosh, this is absolutely ridiculous. And it is one of the most original and unique designs that I have ever seen. It had to make the list. It's just too cool. Moving on here, far and away, the last two knives, the most expensive. I was not going to include this knife on the list, the final list, until I got my hands on the Polished Black DLC one, right? So, I'm kind of cheating here because I'm being real specific. This is the CKF Rotten Evo. I should be wearing gloves, but I don't care right now. Rotten Evo 3.0, specifically the Polished Black DLC variant. The Rotten Evo 3.0 is awesome. The thing that made me the most frustrated about it was the ridiculous price tag. Even on the Polished Black DLC, which is the one that I ended up with, I sold my other one and bought this one secondary. The prices on these things are just silly. Like I don't know why they were like, yeah, it's just can we just have an extra like $150, you know, or $100. I love the design. This is such a conflicting thing, though. You know, the ergonomic profile on this is hand melting perfection. It is one of the most wicked looking knives that I have ever seen, and specifically this Polished Black DLC version is just spectacular. This knife is not going to win any overall awards because it is so incredibly specific. It's just too cool. Like the Rotten Evo 3.0 is just such an awesome knife, and it's ridiculously expensive, and they're hard to get now because they're sold out. It's just like exactly what I wanted it to be, especially this Polished Black DLC version. It's magnificent, and this is one of the nicest polished DLCs I've ever seen, outside of like some of the crazy mirror stuff that you get on like ultra expensive custom knives. Even with the price being as high as it is, I don't know that I've ever seen a nicer finish on a knife in this territory. It really is beautiful. You know, sub $1,000. It really is incredible. And finally, I know you guys are like, there's not a single freaking USA knife on there. Hey, listen. It is what it is. I'm not gonna, like force USA stuff in here if it really truly did not wow me this year. That's gonna make some people mad, right? Some people are gonna say you should be forcing it. You should be pushing. You should ignore other things and intentionally force USA. I'm not gonna do that. I'm always gonna be honest and say what I actually think. There was one USA knife that really did wow me this year, and I absolutely believe that it was the best the best thing to come out of USA manufacturing this year, and that is the Brown FSD, and I'll also include the Mini FSD. It's the same thing, it's just smaller, right? This is amazing. I love this thing. It's a button-operated liner lock, and so it looks like it's left-handed. It's actually intentionally on this side. The only thing that kind of stinks about this is if you put too much pressure choked up here, you can accidentally disengage it while you're using it. If you choke back, though, that's not going to be the case, right? Or if you just use your other hand and watch out for the button. Lefties, you're not going to have an issue with this whatsoever. Blade, stupidly thin behind the edge. Stupidly thin. You have a rear flipper or a low-profile rear flipper, and then you can also front flip it. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't trust my thumb yet. You can also use that fuller there to kick the blade out. This one's in CPM 20 CV. They also came in CPM 154. Love the texturing on the handle. Love the overall machining quality here. Absolutely spectacular and a really cool sound when you deploy it. Almost the ting, the metallic ting. Definitely the most expensive thing on this list, but my favorite USA knife and one of my favorite knives of 2022. Absolutely. So we have all of these here. I'm going to tell you guys, and there's like not enough room to squeeze the FSD in there. I'm going to tell you guys what I think are the absolute best knives of 2022. I'll make sure and keep them out here. It's really hard to take these away, right? I'm going to leave the FSD out here. Oh, what are we going to do here? I already know. What I'm doing here is I'm thinking, you know, which one do I want to get rid of? I think what's left on the table and it was really hard for me not to include the Knoll Voodoo. Don't get upset. Like, I know people are going to get mad at me. Like, how can you include the Russ and not the Voodoo? You can think whatever you want, right? Your reasoning is just as valid as mine, right? This is not like, you know, it's not like I'm creating a new law that says nobody can love, you know, the thing that they love more than these 5 right here. No, you can think whatever you want, right? In my opinion, these are the absolute best of the best, and I'll tell you why. Not that there were any specific categories going into this. I like to just, you know, kind of be real and just say what I think organically. The CJRB Pyrite is, the reason it's out here is because it is hands down the best budget knife of 2022. It just is. AR RPM 9 steel, fantastic profile, beautiful compact design, and I love the all steel version. I think it's awesome. The Russ, I just love the simplicity of it, and I am a huge fan of the aesthetic. This goes right along with everything that I have always loved, and that is that full stonewashed titanium look with a stonewashed blade and the texturing on there. It's just beautiful, and everything is just so beautifully simple. And the cherry on top is that titanium overlay piece that guards the frame lock. It really is a nice touch, and this is one of the most comfortable, straightforward user knives. I just really enjoy carrying and using this, and the hollow grind on the blade is an absolute joy. It's just, I think it's this knife just really specifically speaks to me. I thought the price was right on point, and you know, there was very few, really just one thing that I would have changed, and that's texturing on the front side somewhere, but outside of that, just perfect. Winter Blade Co. Factor, I think it's obvious why this one's out here. This thing is just, it's just badass, man. Like, this is just a badass knife. Everything about it just sounds awesome and feels awesome. It's such a unique experience, and the senses all fire off in a totally different way with this. It doesn't do what you expect, right? What we are sort of trained to think and feel about pocket knives. It just goes the opposite direction in the best way possible, and it is so cool and so original. I just love the Factor. The Reich, largely the same thing, but it is just a beautiful example of quality manufacturing and machining. It's too good. It's almost like, you know, I said in the review, it looks like something that it's something that accidentally came here from, like, somebody, you know, was like using it in a battle, and then somebody like used a portal gun or a time gun, and they attacked each other at the same time, and this accidentally got launched back into 2022. It's actually from like 2070 something, or it's something. It's like, it looks like something that came out of the movie Dune, right? It's almost too good. Right? It's questionably. It's like, when was it? Not where, not who, but what time period was this made in, right? That's why. It's just fantastic. I'm still a little gun-shy around it and still a little angry at it from it slicing my finger open, but wow, incredible. And, you know, this looks like a knife that would cost $500, $600, $700. Now it's $355. That really was the bit. I feel like most people, when they saw the final price tag on this, were like, what? What? It's only $355? That was the reaction from most people, right? Absolutely deserving. And then finally, the Brown FSD is out here because it is my favorite American-made knife of 2022, and absolutely just one of my favorites in general. I like that he did something big, right? I like that it makes a cool clicky noise. I like that it's an American-made knife that actually feels like it's standing up to some of these amazing Chinese manufacturers, because, I mean, it's no secret that Chinese OEMs are just knocking it out of the park right now. It's just what's happening, right? A lot of designers are choosing Chinese OEMs. It's really cool that there's someone who can, you know, design and create something in the United States that really does stand up to the quality of some of these other Chinese companies. It's really amazing. And while this was a really expensive knife at about $800, totally worth it to me. Absolutely my favorite USA-made knife of 2022. So what's the knife of the year? I think it's been obvious for a long time. I think everybody knew. The best knife of 2022 is the Winter Blade Co. Factor. And I gotta be honest, by quite a bit. There really wasn't ever anything that got close to this. And that's not saying the other knives in this video are not worth it or not really all that spectacular. They are. But the Winter Blade Co. Factor is miles ahead of everything else in my book because there's just nothing else like it. I've not handled anything that has ever, you know, exploded my brain quite as completely as the Factor. I mean, there's just, anybody who has ever flipped this thing will tell you the same thing. For something about it, he captured that satisfaction. It's like he managed to capture it and then manufacture it and share it with everyone in a way that was, it translates essentially exactly the same with everybody. And if you have not experienced this yet and you're waiting on yours, you will experience it and you will get what I'm talking about. It's awesome, but it's also a really good user-friendly knife. It's compact, it's easy to manipulate, it's actually pretty comfortable to hang on to. And like I said, the only downside really is if you're working with metal shavings, probably not the best choice. Everything else, really great. Those magnets, by the way, are magnets that, what did he say? 200 years? People are worried about the strength of the magnet wearing out. The magnets that he uses in these knives are magnets that are designed to last for 1 to 200 years, the way I understand it. So yeah, not super worried about that. Really, really cool. This video went on way longer than I thought, but I put this off. I meant to do it a lot sooner, but I just kept putting it off because I just wasn't incredibly confident with my choices. I really wanted to sit and think about it and really choose things, you know, that I legitimately felt were amazing, and I'm really, really happy with my choices here. So let me know down in the comments if you agree with me, disagree with me, what you would have chosen. There were honestly, you know, another 10 to 20 knives that could have made it into this video, but I just, you know, I didn't want to include that many. I really wanted to narrow it down. So anyways, that's going to be pretty much it. Like I said, any of the knives that you know, are available, I will make sure are linked right down below. But most of these are not. So actually, let me think about this. Not most, about half of them. So I'll make sure that they're linked down in the description. That's going to be pretty much it. This was an awesome year. I plan on being here next year and doing this again at the end of 2023. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.